Welcome to Big Blend Radio, where we celebrate variety and how it adds spice to quality of life. Welcome, everybody. It is the fourth Sunday, and that means Joey Stuckey, the musician, producer, guitarist, singer, songwriter, is back on the show with us here on the Big Daily Blend, which is also going to be on our Toast to the Arts channel, because today we are celebrating the power of two. We're calling this Double Trouble because we're talking about duos and duets. And there's three of us talking about twos. So I don't know what that means in numerology, but it means
some sort of fraction.
Yeah, it's 2025, and between us all, there's a high five to y'all. How about that? That was good. We are airing from Georgia. Nancy and I are here in Peachtree City, and Joey's down the road in Macon, where he is the official music ambassador of Macon, Georgia. So, yeah, you've got some good history over there musically, don't you?
Oh yeah, lots of great history, and it's not just what you might think. I mean, everybody does know about some of our Southern rock roots with the Allman Brothers and Marshall Tucker, Wet Willie, and many, many more. Of course, we have Otis Redding, and everybody usually knows that. But what people may not know is we're the birthplace of Little Richard. And we have a tie to Jimi Hendrix through Little Richard, because he was Little Richard's guitar player for quite some time. And then we even have Cindy Lanier, who was an incredible classical composer and poet, and did a lot of other stuff. So we've got a lot of really cool music from this area.
And Little Richard, we just watched a series on him, a documentary last night of him.
Oh, nice.
Him. Yeah, and you look at how he inspired Prince, and
the Beatles.
He inspired and the Rolling Stones. He did so much, and and how people took his songs. Yeah, you know who I'm talking about. You took his songs and made money off of them, and he didn't make the big hits because somebody else took them. And that happened a lot of times to musicians back then.
Still does.
It still does. But this is
gotta be careful.
Before we get into our duos and duets, we do need to touch base on the fact Joey's going out of town. So as we're recording this, we're recording this about just under a week from when this airs, and he's getting ready to fly out of Georgia and go to LA. And the LA fires are more than devastating. And Nancy and I are both from the areas where the fires happened, and of course Nancy was raised and lived there, and so many of our friends and colleagues and so many people out there, right? And LA is one of those cities where it affects everybody. Because everyone's connected somehow to Los Angeles. And so as we've been saying on so many shows, and we won't stop saying it, our hearts are really with you, and there's so much you can do. We are glad to see that the Grammys are still on, and so is the NAMM show, which is where Joey's going. But, Joey, I'm glad, because I was thinking, what are they going to do? But so many, companies, like I saw Spotify pulled out of doing some of their after parties and instead took the money and is donating it and the Grammys has some funds, right, to help artists that were affected.
There's a lot going on. LA County is huge, and the fires have been devastating, and so many musical, like, legendary studios, home studios are just gone. So many people's homes are gone. And so it's absolutely heartbreaking. But yeah, there are a lot of people that are Grammy week, which is the week before the Grammys, is usually a time of tons of parties. Everybody does a party, and if you're lucky, you get invited to all of them, and or most of them, and then you have to start picking which ones you want to go to. But it's like, most of those parties have been canceled. And what most people are doing, instead of spending the money on the party, is they're giving that money directly to, in some form or fashion, to help with the devastation. One of the things that the Grammys is doing, they actually canceled the Grammy after party, but they are And I'm an Atlanta governor, so I'm on the board of governors for the Atlanta chapter, which is responsible for Atlanta and Alabama, and Georgia and Alabama. But anyway, everybody sort of made the decision that they would cancel most of the sort of extra events, and instead of taking people's time and talent away and money away for those events, they would give that time, talent, and money to help with the devastation. But they're still continuing the main events. So Big Night Music is still on. That's February 2nd. And it's still going to be televised, and that's still going to happen. A few of the other big things that happens, like the Music Cares Person of the Year, and some of that stuff is still happening, which I think this year is the Grateful Dead, if I'm not mistaken. I believe that's right. But there's something called Music Cares, which is a nonprofit, separate sort of arm of the Grammys that goes out and helps musicians in distress. And
awesome.
They do this 24/7. They do this, and they can help with medical bills. They can help with, all those kinds of things. And so what they're doing right now, and I suspect that this is going to be even expanded even more. But what they're doing right now is they're helping with around $2,000 per person from different funding apparatuses for anyone affected by the fire. So if you've lost an instrument, if you need hotel money, if you need food money, if you need internet connection, if you need whatever you need, there is, just by calling up the number and providing your information to them, they're able to get you $2,000 immediately. That's a good start, because so many people have been displaced. So many people have lost a lot of their possessions. And if you're in the music business and you've lost your guitar and your microphone and your amp, it's hard for you to go out and make a living doing music. So they're really helping a lot with that. So I have donated to Music Cares, and I've also I've tried to decide, like, what could I do realistically as a blind man that lives many states away. Like, what would be the best thing I could do to help? And I decided, at least for me, that the best thing was to donate, some basically the ticket costs of the Grammy after party. I took that money that I was refunded, and I gave it to Music Cares, and then I also gave it to the Red Cross. So those are the two places that I donated, because I thought that would be the best way I could help. And my wife and I really thought about, did we want to be out there, would it make it better or worse if we came? And the areas that we're going to be, like Anaheim, downtown LA, all those places have not really had any kind of crunch, any kind of significant damage or crunch to the infrastructure. So we feel like we would not be adding, extra bother by going.
Right.
So because we were wondering, like, okay, there's only so many cops, there's only so many firemen, there's only so much infrastructure. Will we be adding stress to the infrastructure by going? And we've talked to a lot of people. We've thought about it. We've talked to a lot of friends that are out there, and so we decided that we would attend and go ahead and go with the trip. And Anaheim is in real good condition, as it's not really affected at this time. Although I suspect that hotels are hard to get because there are so many people that have been evacuated and stuff like that. But anyway, yeah, that's kind of what's going on. So NAMM is still on. I'm speaking at a panel in NAMM about accessibility.
Tell everybody, because tell people who don't know what NAMM is.
Yeah, so NAMM,
it's really an industry kind of event.
Yeah, it's the National Association of Music Manufacturers, and it is a place of education. It's about a 5-day conference. It has a huge educational component. It has the Tech Awards. It has concerts. It's full of music 24/7. It has a huge space where you can go and see the newest and greatest and latest products from all the different music manufacturers. So all the big boys will be there, and the small boys too. I mean, it's independent. You know, a lot of little
I'll play
independent.
with any size boy.
You should. You
Hello.
absolutely should. I think as long as they're loving and kind.
Yeah.
And so
Oh boy.
but all the but like
You did it.
all the little independent, you started, Lisa. All the little
Yeah.
independent, music people are there, along with like the giants. So I'm real excited because I'll be out there being a guest on a couple of podcasts.
Cool.
I'll be out there doing my panel discussion about accessibility. I'll be
Awesome.
out there checking out all the new cool music gear, the newest guitars, the latest microphones, all that tech. And I'll be out there, of course, networking, but I'll also be out there talking to some people that are going to help me make the new Shadow Sound Studio. The guy that's designing my mixing console for the new space, which will be a 64-channel console, we are getting together to strategize about how to make the console more accessible for the blind. And so one of the solutions we've come up with that we're still refining is to make the board have some communication ability so that it will either give me indications of the status of the console via tone or possibly speech. So it looks like looks like we're leaning towards speech because that will be the best thing. So we've got a lot of exciting things going on.
That's going to be something that can be utilized all over. I think when you get back, we're going to have our show on gear because we keep talking about doing the show. So
I can gear out with the best of them.
Yeah, because you're going to be in NAMM. You're going to be seeing all, getting all this new gear, listening to new things and, the music. Nancy used to put on a music manufacturing show in South Africa, in Port Elizabeth. And we did it, 2 to 3 years in a row where she'd book out a hotel and all the rooms were all the different, manufacturers.
Oh,
and
nice.
She did it through a music store in Port Elizabeth. And so everything that was sold and people came, Nancy, you had people come from Europe even fly in to like, this is my new piano. And,
I know.
And people and Nancy really should have charged way more because she put the whole thing on, and us as, teenagers were her runners on everything. I mean, this is back in the day where we had to put out flyers on cars and everything.
That's
Sure.
right.
She had a thing where like a guitar company donated X number of guitars, and at certain times as people walked in the door, someone won a guitar. And so the attendance was huge. And all the sales went through the music store because these were all the suppliers, all of his people he bought instruments from. So that guy made so much money because every sale went through him like it was his store.
Yeah.
Because it is his store, but it was in a hotel. And it was crazy because you had a bunch of musicians from all walks of life. You also had cocktails going on remember that? And concerts and shows. And I mean, that was such a massive event and so much fun and dangerous because all these instruments from around the world. And, South Africa at the time, because this was in the 89, 90, 91 that we did this. I mean, South Africa didn't have that much that you would see like you would if you go to NAMM and all the connections you have here in the States. In South Africa, at that time, if you needed computer help and if you had a computer, you were lucky. And someone would have to fly in from Johannesburg to Port Elizabeth, because that's how far. You didn't just make a phone call for a computer guy.
Oh, I get it.
Yeah. So, I mean, it wasn't that we were behind, but I mean, it's a modern country.
Well, it's
expensive.
Yeah.
And it was just the era of, but it was a different connection because everything that was done musically there was on the British and Japanese side of distribution of music. So we had all the European stuff, but American stuff, we got it, but not as much.
No.
you'd have to sneak it in with your porn. I'm just kidding, but it's true. Because you couldn't get that there either. So it was very Puritan
Well,
there in writing. It was very Puritan, but, what was going on was going on.
That's
So
funny.
it's just a different, things were wrapped in newspaper. But now you can't even get newspaper wrapped around your fish and chips. How about that? I know
Oh yeah,
England,
yeah. That's very, very, very British.
yeah. So
mhm.
anyway, yeah. So let's. I love that you're going to NAMM and the Grammys. You're going to have to report. I know last year you had a good time, and
Oh yeah,
you changed your mind a little bit about Miley Cyrus. I
I
remember
did.
that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I really enjoyed it. I thought she did a great job. I thought she was, very
Mhm.
charming, and I thought her song was excellent. And she was absolutely amazing. It was great.
She's
That's
matured a
awesome.
lot.
Yeah,
Her
Yeah.
she has.
voice.
Yeah. Oh
Her
yeah.
voice has really changed up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, she stopped alcohol and smoking weed.
Huh.
She stopped drinking for a while, but it was weed because she really got in, that was,
Hmm.
and she did it because she has like brain stuff happening from an accident she had with her dad was taking her around or something on the farm and it hit her head. And so she's been learning about brain stuff. And in
Hmm.
learning that, she went, I need to not do this. And well, you should relate with that. I mean, you're a brain tumor survivor, Joey.
Absolutely.
And
Yeah.
so she's learned about what you can do. And then she was like, she was vegan and then she couldn't be vegan anymore. She realized that wasn't working for her personally, though she still supports that kind of lifestyle.
Right.
And she's a big animal person, but she really stopped all of that stuff because she realized it affects your voice. Any kind of alcohol or smoke affects you. Now, of course, there's other ways to imbibe, but she realized she just wanted to be as pure for her art and stopped and was feeling really good. I mean, I don't know, she might have gone back. This was an interview I heard a couple of years ago from her, but she just really got into taking things away. You've got to think being a child star and then going, it's a different grow up time.
Oh, big time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. I was
yeah.
actually kind of worried about. I was worried about my voice because I'm performing at the World Entertainment Awards while I'm out in LA,
Mm,
and I was worried about all the smoke and stuff, like me getting
Hmm.
like messing with my voice. But best we can tell without actually being there. That's not where we're going to be. It's not going to be an issue. So hopefully that
good.
will stay the same.
Well, everyone, Joey will update us when he comes back in February. We might have to talk about all the gear and what's going on with his console and if, I was going to say all the knobs are on your console are going to talk to you. I
Hello.
don't know how to say that. That doesn't sound good, but it does sound like Star Trek is going further and further. And the thing with your console, which I find exciting, is it's something that can really help musicians globally with what you
Yeah,
come up with.
and that's AI has a place. We've talked about this before on AI shows with Big Blend, and but it certainly has a place. And I just got some new Meta sunglasses that have AI, and while they won't read the newspaper or anything like that for me, I am able to pick up objects and ask the sunglasses what I'm holding, and it will read the title. And that is a real godsend when you can't see and you've got 1,000 CDs sitting there. I'm too lazy to take them out, put it in, and play it to see what it is. So when I can do that with my audiobooks or my CDs or my Blu-rays, that was a real game changer. And I bought them for that reason alone because a friend of mine had it and said, man, these are great and you should have a pair. And I got that. And of course you can film and you can shoot video and take pictures with them and stuff too, which is good for social media. But they're $300 and give me a lot of accessibility, and I think they'll continue to expand. There's a tool kind of like it that's just for the blind that's more sophisticated that will read newspapers and stuff to you, but it's $5,000, and that's kind of
Wow.
a big ask.
That's a big one.
Yeah, so I'm happy with these, but yeah, the point is that AI is getting better. There's a company I I can't think of the name of the company right now. I'm hoping they'll be at NAMM and I can visit them. I've got them noted somewhere in my notes. But there's a company that's made a digital mixing console that you can actually talk to and tell it what you want it to do, and it does it. So they only have the prototype available, but these are the kind of things that are coming, and this is where AI can shine when it truly is my eyes or somebody else's hands or whatever, allowing us to have true freedom and mobility. What I don't like is the idea of it. I'm not a Luddite, but I don't like the idea of it taking jobs from humans. I don't like the idea of it having rights or sentience. I don't think any of that stuff's appropriate. But anyway, it's an exciting time that we live in as from a technological standpoint. There's a lot of good things coming, I think.
Well, speaking of, it's actually Braille Appreciation Month this month. So that's interesting as we tie into that. But
I love Braille. I'm very clumsy with it because I didn't learn it till I was like 13.
Okay.
But I'm very clumsy with it. But I love it for labeling things. I don't like reading books with it. That's just like, and if you've ever seen a Braille book, they're huge. You need like a donkey to carry your Braille books around with for you. A donkey and a red wagon. But as for like labeling stuff, I mean, it's awesome.
Well, let's go to musicians that are duos or duets, our topic today. So I want to start with a blind combination. Stevie Wonder, we got to bring that up. Stevie Wonder and Paul McCartney, Ebony and Ivory, right?
Yes.
Is that not one of the most, that is one of the most classic?
That's a classic tune.
Classic.
And I remember that song always being one that I thought was so cool because it's such a clever song. And then you've got two of the greatest singers of all time, doing it. Paul McCartney's a great, he's a great bass player and plays other instruments as well. And of course, Stevie Wonder plays multiple instruments and is a great keyboard player. And they're both such icons. And I remember the Saturday Night Live skit that they did with Eddie Murphy playing Stevie Wonder, and it was absolutely fantastic. And they said, and it was Stevie Wonder doing something with Frank Sinatra, and he said, "Hey, why don't we do something like you did with the McCartney kid? We'll call it Vanilla and Chocolate."
Oh boy!
Anyway, but it's a great duet. It's a fabulous tune.
Well, a sad one is when Paul McCartney paired up with Michael Jackson, right? They go from, here, there's Ebony and Ivory, but say, and then Michael Jackson rips him off. I mean, that sucked.
Now they did two songs together. They also did a song on the Thriller album, "The Girl Was Mine." So they've done They've done two songs together.
And then he stole the Beatles music, and he asked Paul McCartney, like, how do you make money? He goes, on the publishing end.
Yeah.
I did it on the publishing end, Paul McCartney.
Yeah, well, I mean, he had the money to buy their publishing, and he did.
Yep, and then he owned the Beatles. That kind of like, it's crazy. It's crazy.
Yeah.
But I want to go, Nancy, you've got some duets in there. You've got duos that you really focused on for today. What is one of your favorite ones?
Well, I have to start. My most favorite, the Righteous Brothers. To me, I bow down to their singing ability and
I agree.
The songs I don't know, man. I have to stop and listen.
They're pretty righteous.
Mm-hmm.
Well, their voice is that's pretty epic. It's pretty epic. I've got to go. What about Robert Plant and Alison Krauss today?
That is absolutely, that is the most unexpected pairing and absolutely just fabulous. Fabulous. And, it's a completely different sound for both of them. The sound they make together is very different than what they make as individuals. And again, you've got Robert Plant, who's, a rock icon, and Alison Krauss, who's, country and bluegrass icon. And they get together and make this music that's just really fantastic. And I think, at least the first album anyway, was produced by T-Bone. And
Oh,
I think he may have done all of them. I'm not sure. I think they have what, three of them? Are there three records? I know there's two. Seems like there might be three. But man, I've got to say, listening to those is just so good, so good.
mm. I love that. It reminds me also. So one of my favorite musicians and guitarists is Mark Knopfler.
Oh, of course.
I,
Mm-hmm.
I I've always been a huge Dire Straits fan, but just of him because he's so laid back. And what cracks me up is like when their first album almost came out on Virgin Records and Richard Branson went to sign them and they were about to sign it. They were all excited. They were in a restaurant somewhere and this is going to be the big deal. And Richard Branson turned around and gave everybody a joint and said, all right, let's, celebrate. And it's killed the deal because they didn't believe, they thought they were going to get screwed because they're stoned or something. So they didn't do the deal. So they thought he was trying to trick them. So they didn't do the
Weird.
deal. Isn't that
Now,
wild?
are you talking about Dire Straits, or are you talking
Dire
about?
Straits. Dire
Okay,
Straits.
I was
They're
making
way
sure.
back when.
Well,
Yeah.
that's actually, I have an interesting story. There's a tie to Macon, Georgia about Dire Straits because um, a friend of mine who's passed away now, Ian Copeland,
Oh, yeah.
spent some time. I think it was 18 months or 2 years. He spent some time in Macon, Georgia, as a booking agent for Paragon Booking, and they were booking all the big Southern rock and R&B bands in the South. And so he worked for them for a little while, and he brought to Phil Walden a tape of Dire Straits and said, "Hey, these guys are going to be like the next big thing. You should check them out." And Phil Walden was not impressed with them and didn't sign them. And so that's and Ian Copeland. If that name sounds familiar, his
Yeah.
brother
Mm-hmm.
Miles Copeland. Yeah, his brother
Oh,
Miles Copeland started IRS Records, which signed REM and B-52s. And his brother Stuart Copeland was the drummer for the
yeah.
Police.
That's right. Stuart Copeland. And we've done interviews on his trio. So now we're getting to the threes instead of the duos, the twos, is called Animal Logic. And, it's a fantastic ensemble. You got to hear it. Great group. But, I want to say, coming back to Mark Knopfler. So his duo is with Emmylou Harris and they did the album Every Road Running. And oh my God,
Oh, and
it is.
she's so what a singer. Um, and I love Martin Knopfler. I really do. I think he's a great songwriter, a great guitar player, and he kind
Mm-hmm.
of talks things. He does what he does well, but he's not like what you would call it like a virtuoso singer.
Mm,
But Emmylou Harris, boy, I mean that's a great combo. I mean
it's awesome.
it's got so much heart, and one of the things that Martin Knopfler like specializes in is he's very technically proficient and savvy when it comes to the guitar, but he also knows how to leave space, and that's one of the things I really like about what he
I
does.
Yeah, it's the
That's
space.
interesting.
Yeah,
I
it's
Mm-hmm.
the
got
space.
a song that really I think is one of the coolest duets. There's another one, but anyway, Bonnie Raitt and Sippy Wallace. Woman, be wise. Keep your
Mm-hmm.
mouth shut. Don't advertise your man. Watch out for those highbrows. So that relationship between the two of them is so massive, and that changed things so much for blues artists too. What Bonnie Raitt has done over the years,
Oh yeah,
especially for women, and Sippy Wallace was just amazing. And the fact that they ended up being able to play together, because apparently at one point she went only into gospel and wouldn't do blues anymore.
hmm.
And then Bonnie Raitt got her to sing that song. And next thing you know, they did a duet at one point. I'll have to try and find the recording for that. I want to go back to Nancy though, because Nancy, we're talking about LA and everything, right? And you grew up, right off the LA strip.
Mm-hmm.
And at one
Right
point
there.
didn't, one of the sounds, like now we've got the Beach Boys, but
Mm-hmm.
one of your favorite duos that I know of was Jan and Dean. And I
Yeah.
think they were like at the same time as the Beach Boys or a little before or
I think
after,
they
right?
were slightly before,
Mm-hmm.
but not, you're talking 2, 3 years, not decades. And that sound just took over the beaches. Like the Beach
Mm,
Boys, Jan and Dean, that surf sound just took over the beaches. No matter where you went, if there was a loudspeaker playing music, it was going to go to Jan and Dean. It was going to go to the Beach Boys.
mm. And Dead Man's Curve, didn't they do that song? Dead Man's Curve?
Jan and Dean did Dead Man's Curve. Yeah.
Wow. And there is a
Yeah.
Dead Man's Curve.
Yeah, there is. I know exactly where it is.
Yeah, we drove it. We've done that,
Yeah.
and but now I want to also go to Simon and Garfunkel because I know that was on your list.
Yeah.
Didn't you see them perform one day, like when you were in your wild hippie youth?
Who, me?
Yeah. Yeah, you, crazy
Yes,
girl.
well, there was Hollywood Boulevard was a mecca for startups that had real talent that went out and performed on the street. And then years later, you'd look and say, hey, that's so and so, that you realize that you saw them before they were famous, as they were working their way up.
Mm.
And so, and there was a lot of people. My brother and I used to sneak out the window of our house and go troll the strip because it was fascinating. And people were, back then at least, were nice and they were kind. And the cops just told us to be careful. They didn't try to pick us up and put us in jail for anything. And restaurants gave us food. And we would just troll up and down the strip and peek in windows. And some of the people in the restaurant would tell us, so and so's coming here tonight. Be here at 8. And you could go peek in the window and you would see Glenn Campbell and you would see all these different people. And
Mm.
and they just wave at you. Some sent you food out. And we're like these little gremlins walking up and down the strip amongst all the prostitutes and drug deals that were going down. It's quite exciting.
Wait a
And I
minute. Do
don't,
we have trolls, gremlins, and prostitutes? This sounds like another
yeah,
album cover.
I like it.
but it was so interesting
That
because we
sounds pretty
weren't a
magical.
rich
Yeah.
family.
Yeah.
And, my parents never really seemed to cotton on that we were escaping every night that we could. And we knew like Thursday was a great night because that's the setup night. Everybody's changing musicians out and setting up for the new show. And they were they were promoting and promoting and promoting. They'd give you free tickets and stuff. So we knew go down Thursdays so that you could have fun on Fridays and Saturdays.
Yeah. But you know what? I love the fact that you're talking about seeing musicians perform that
Mm,
you don't know are going to be big. And that's the
yeah.
important thing. And why I love even doing all these music shows we do is I want people to hear like independents that are up and rising, up and coming, and probably
Yeah.
you don't even have to call it that, that be open to listening to someone you've never heard of. You
Yeah.
don't know if they're going to be the big ones around the corner, and it doesn't matter if they're big or not, right? It wouldn't, don't you feel that way too, Joey?
I do.
They're either resonate with you or don't.
Yeah.
But so many times it's like, oh, I've never heard of that person. But, as much as we all complain about the way streaming services are, I do find that when we do all these music lists, I find musicians I've never heard of, sometimes
Mm.
way back when, and like we just did a music list for bootleggers, rum runners, and moonshiners. And man, did I go into the Appalachian woods, and then I went into a little bit of Ireland stuff. I mean, I got hooked into some old Jimmy Reed and some things that we just kind of maybe not always listen to. And I was like, man, this stuff is some good stuff, some good picking music, some Waylon, and then some raunchy kind of outlaw, like I'm in trouble, music, some blues. And it was pretty interesting. And I think that is the beauty about, this kind of thing is to get people to understand, like, listen to someone you don't know because
Mhm.
you never know. what you're going to experience. So Nancy got to see Simon and Garfunkel before they were, as we know, Simon and Garfunkel,
Yeah.
and I think that was an amazing duo. Like some of the best,
Oh,
like
for sure.
what the Everly Brothers, they were a duo too that had amazing
The
harmonies.
Everly Brothers,
Were
Chad
they
and
a duo?
Jeremy. Chad and Jeremy is another one. That Chad and Jeremy is still like my heart. I I don't know. Their songs are in my heart,
Mm,
and they were very. Uh, I don't want to use the word simple. They were very straightforward, truthful, and uncomplicated
mm,
Gotcha.
with what they put forward.
mm.
And their harmonies were amazing. I don't know. I have a hard time crawling out of the 60s.
Well, I
I
mean,
Well,
that
really
was some of the
do.
best music ever made. So, I mean, you know,
Yeah.
what about Captain and Tennille?
Ooh, that's one I didn't think of.
Yeah,
Hmm.
Captain and Tennille. Did you ever listen to them, Joey?
a little bit. Yeah, a little bit I have.
They were kind of rompy. Like it was just kind of it was interesting. And I want to put this for a duo, the Carpenters.
Oh, yeah.
Hmm.
That
Yeah.
I'm still sad about her,
Me too.
The musicality was supreme.
Oh, big time. I mean, as good as it
Yeah.
gets.
Yeah.
That was
But
when I
then,
was, gosh, when I
go ahead.
was, how old was I? I was probably 9 or 10, and I
Mm,
discovered the Carpenters for the first time. And
mm,
of course, back then, when you're a child, you don't care what decade something's from. To you,
Mm.
it's all new. And I
mm.
discovered them and thought, oh gosh, I've discovered this great group. And I remember I went on this Carpenters kick, and one day for my birthday, everybody got me a Carpenters album. And so
Oh,
I ended
cool.
up, several, I should say not everybody, but several family members got me the Carpenters album. And the amazing thing was that none of them were the same.
Mm.
So I don't know. I don't remember how many albums they actually had. I think there was only three, maybe 3 or 4. But I remember
Mm.
it was a Carpenter's birthday.
Mm.
Wow, that's cool though.
And we
That
just sat down and played them. I was so excited. I got them out and played them immediately.
Mm.
uh, you put Sam and Dave on the list, Nancy, and we
Hmm.
just lost Sam Moore. And
I
Yeah, I actually
know.
met him once.
well, our first
Oh.
live show, live music, within 2 weeks of getting to this country was seeing
Mm.
Sam Moore perform.
Mm.
And you got to meet him, but
Yes.
we did meet him.
Mm.
Um, and
Briefly.
he's a feisty, well, he was a feisty, don't like, he got mad at people because they needed to behave on like, I put it on a show. You're going to not talk over this, and then somebody did something, and next thing you know, there's a bar brawl. And I'm like, wow, America is crazy. It was like, I was like 19 or something. And I'm like, this is
Mm.
fantastic. I mean, you've got a musician telling people what to do, but his stage presence is electric
Oh
and
yeah,
he commands. And so when people are just being drunks talking over a legend, like he was almost like, cause it was in a bar on the
Mm.
water. It was nice, but
Mm.
like I would never have expected to have seen him. But I've seen so many greats like that in places that, yeah, which is like John Mayall at the Belly Up and stuff like that. But
Yeah,
where
that was
it's
good
not
too.
like these huge stadium shows, because that's not me, to go to. So when
yeah,
there's these
Mm.
intimate performances, and they were being rude because they were drunk,
yeah.
too
Yeah.
many rum runners or whatever Bahama Mamas or
Hmm.
whatever they call them, bushwhackers out there. But
Hmm.
he was so electric, and it was rude because I mean, to me, I grew up listening to his music, him and Sam and Dave, and they got me into understanding rock and roll and soul, and of course, Soul Man and everything. But they put on shows like I didn't have YouTube as a kid, neither did you, Joey, and
No,
I was just like, wow, this is a legend. Is this what America's going to be like? And then all hell went crazy. But I mean, was he feisty like that too when you met him?
no, he wasn't. I met him. Um, uh, let's see now. it was backstage at the Georgia Music Hall of Fame Awards, and I met him. It was real nice. And my dad said, "Hey, my dad went and stopped and said, 'Hey, my son's a big fan. Would you mind, coming over and saying hello?'" And I don't think we got a picture of it, but I got a chance to shake his hand and just say hello for a few minutes. And he was very gracious and kind. But he did have a magnetic, personality and a great presence. But we were meeting, backstage, and he was very kind to me.
Yeah.
Mm.
That's
cool.
You put on your playlist, and everyone, we've got a music playlist of duos and duets that keeps growing as we talk, that is linked over in the episode notes, goes to Spotify. And you put Queen and David Bowie on, of course, Under Pressure, and it's like this amazing. I mean, Freddie Mercury to me is just still like, there's just no one like him, and the band itself too. I mean, Brian May and all of them, but Under Pressure, well, when Freddie Mercury passed away, then Annie Lennox duetted it with David Bowie. And I mean, you got to think about it. Oh my goodness. Because it's like, it is a shut the front door moment. Because it's epic, because, her voice.
Oh, she's incredible.
She's one of the best vocalists. Underrated. I still think she's underrated. I think she's like, if you think about blues, I think she's very bluesy as a vocalist.
I agree. I totally agree.
And people don't talk about her like that, but yeah, yeah. Yeah. And David Bowie, I mean, come on. He was just, you had another one with him on here too. With Mick Jagger.
With Mick Jagger. I was thinking about, both those guys have so much swagger, and presence. And I was thinking about that. That was not my favorite. I think they might have picked a better song. I mean, I like that song, don't get me wrong. I think they might have picked something a little more interesting, but they it's still really good.
Well, you also brought in Tom Petty and Stevie Nicks.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I miss Tom Petty.
Me too.
I
will say this, though. If you're a Tom Petty fan and you watch college football, you get to hear plenty of Tom Petty.
Oh, yeah. Well, we hear it everywhere we go. Well, he's actually one of the best. You can listen to him on any road trip, and he'll help you get through Texas. He's good road trip music. But Stevie Nicks also did Leather and Lace with Don Henley. We got to think of that, too.
Oh, yeah, that's true. I remember that now. I didn't think about it.
Yeah, Leather and Lace. I mean, it's just, when you think about these duets, like, okay, what about Stevie Ray Vaughan and Albert King? Now let's talk.
Oh, yeah, that's great.
Holy cow.
Yeah, that's good stuff.
Yeah, that needs to go on the list. That's important because there's musicians who duetted. Santana's done a bunch like that, too.
Oh, my gosh. He's done a ton with Michelle Branch and all kinds of people.
Well, that one album with "Hey There, Put Your Lights On." Okay. So Tony Bennett did tons, right?
Yeah, sure.
And it was Pat Boone who took music from Little Richard.
Yeah.
Yeah, he needs to be sorted out. But anyway, didn't he do a heavy metal album once?
He did. No More Mr. Nice Guy is what it was called.
No way.
Yep.
He wasn't a nice guy because he stole the music from Little Richard.
Hey, come on.
He said, I know, I'll get in trouble. But, yeah, no. But the musicians, and
okay, one of the most different duos to me was Sonny and Cher.
I have them on my list as well.
They are iconic in that they were different, so different from everybody else. And no matter what, when you listen to her voice, and you're like, yeah, man, that's great. Then you listen to his voice, and you're like, I don't get it. But somehow it worked.
Yeah. It's true. They were great together. I don't think Sonny would have had the same career trajectory just solo.
No, I can't even imagine that.
Yeah.
I think he
Tom
could sing
Jones,
with cats.
Tom Jones, talk about cats. He said Tom Jones sang with Janis Joplin.
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
but see,
a,
they're
that's
both
a,
exciting.
no, and that was epic. And I think he has one of the best voices on
Oh
the
Yeah,
man,
he
planet.
no doubt.
does.
No doubt.
He
One of my
is one of
favorites.
my favorites.
Me too.
Big.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
he
He's
was.
got, he's emotionally packed,
Yeah,
you
for
know.
sure.
Now, what
The,
about the Indigo Girls?
mm,
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Bob Dylan and John Baez?
Yeah.
I can't think of them.
eh,
Did they sing? Did they actually play together? Like on the
They
same
were
no,
on
that
they were
song?
I've,
on tour together, I know. But whether or not they played together, I'm not real clear.
I don't remember ever hearing anything they did together.
Okay. Well, let's talk about the on again, off again Hall and Oates.
God,
They're man eaters. They're
drama.
eating each other. I mean,
They are
that,
not friends at the moment. Yeah.
no, I
It's a
mean, if they're
drama thing.
they're like Fleetwood Mac, but as a duo.
Yeah, I
You
don't
know,
know, and I never was clear on why they were upset with each other. I don't know if they ever made that particularly clear, but
what about Oasis? Come
yeah,
on,
they're getting back together.
the Gallaghers.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, they're getting
There's
back
some,
together.
well, I wonder with the show Shameless, the TV series Shameless, which we had here based out of the South Side of Chicago. Then they had one, the original one is in England. So I kept going like, and they used the last name Gallagher's. And so I'm like,
Mhm.
you know, I'm just wondering if the music kind of and the drama of the Gallagher boys kind of got it
Dripped over.
inspiration. Have you watched Shameless, Joey?
I have not.
Oh,
Oh,
oh, and I think you'll enjoy the British one because you're like us. Um, hey, speaking of that, Nancy and I saw the very first episode. We believe it's the very first it is.
mm,
It's the very first black and white episode of Are You Being Served the other day.
Oh yeah,
that's
absolutely.
just,
Good stuff. I watch that almost every night. I watch
Do,
Are You
that
Being
is
Served,
so funny.
do
and
you,
that's the pilot episode.
Mm.
yeah, and that's when the bra's like beeping like the
Yeah,
in the
yeah,
shop with the big bright colors. It's like
yeah.
I got my hot bra on, I got my hot pants on.
Yeah, I know.
Oh, okay. Going back to duets. Well, we are talking about a bra. That's a duet.
That's a good duet. Yeah.
Yeah, it's 2 cups, double D's.
Mm.
Uh-oh. I'm trying
Oh,
very hard to behave, but Joey's on the show.
mm.
Ike and Tina Turner, Nancy put on. That is
Oh,
epic. That is,
dude, those two together,
even though
crazy.
he was mean, he was still good at what he did, but she
I
worked
think,
it. She was, I mean,
dude.
that energy that she had, it
Yeah.
was
Oh yeah,
just,
That was a relationship, seems like from hell. I mean, it seems like it was just tumultuous and awful, but
yeah.
musically, some amazing things came out of it. I had the chance to work on a project that Ike Turner did. It was, I wonder if I had to look to see if it's on Spotify. I don't know if it ever got released. Well, I know it got released by a small record label, but I don't know whatever happened to it. But it was called, I think the album was called Ike Turner and Billy Rogers. And
Huh.
my job, I was brought in and I was told I played guitar on a track. And
Mm.
I said, they said, okay, the drummer's got one interpretation at the time, and Ike's got a different interpretation at the time, and your job is to get in between them. So
Ew.
and so
Mm-mm.
help gel this thing together. And it was tough, but that guy
Yeah.
Billy Rogers was a great singer. Ike Turner, is a great producer and piano player, and then so that was one of my very earliest session calls when I
wow,
was in my 20s, and
that's
Wow.
cool.
yeah, so it was, you might see if it's out there, but I can't remember the name of the song anymore, but I think, and I may be wrong about this, I believe it's the only song that has guitar on it. And it did an EP, so like 4 or 5 songs. But I think the name of the album was Ike Turner and Billy Rogers, and so it was an interesting process.
Well, that's another duet
It,
though. And
It
Ike
is.
Turner and Billy Rogers, um,
Yeah,
I was going
I
to
think
say,
I think I and Tina Turner threw things at each other.
I'm sure they did.
Me too.
I
well,
mean,
yeah, that was volatile, but I hate to say it, but those kind of fiery relationships always produce good music. It's so true. I mean,
yeah.
Fleetwood Mac and stuff. I mean, you got to think that, Stevie Nicks and not Mick Fleet. Well, they had a duet on their own.
Lindsey Buckingham.
Yeah, those two had
Mm.
their own duo going. And then,
Yeah, Buckingham and Nicks. Yeah.
yeah, we were talking about how, Tony Bennett's career, his son helped him and said, hey, call up. I think, musicians go through these cycles of suddenly going bankrupt and you go, how, but it happens. Um, and also because I don't think back in the day when record labels were running you and, people were putting drugs under your
Hey,
nose and
the
all,
companies kept the money. The artists
exactly.
virtually
And,
got
and,
nothing.
and they wanted you, like when we were in the music industries, with the organs,
Mm.
musical organs, they
Oh,
wanted their
yeah.
salespeople to spend their money and almost go to bankruptcy level so that they would keep selling and making sales. That's how the
Mm.
Mm.
company, it was like, you need to get a new watch. You need to go get a fancier car. You need to not keep a car longer than, a year kind of they wanted you to lease at that. I mean, come on. So anyway, so it's that kind of culture. And so then like when Tony Bennett, he did the same thing like Santana, John Lee Hooker did it where he had all these duets. So I got to bring in John Lee Hooker and Santana was like, and that was excellent. Van Morrison and John Lee Hooker is insanely
Mm.
cool. Um, John Lee Hooker and his daughter Zakiya, we all know, and is out here in Georgia too. She's been on the show for years, and the duet from Zakiya Hooker and her husband, Olan, is amazing. And so there's these duets that you just go, I'm gonna have to put that on. Owen
Mm.
Christopher Bell, he was with the Natural Force, so not a duet, but back in the day in the 70s, incredible R&B, like real R&B. Like there's just R&B now versus R&B then are two different things. But John Lee Hooker did some amazing duets. So a lot of in history, you know, they get to a certain age, like if you where people are like, okay, we're going to go and do a duet album with all these greats. And that is some of the most fascinating music to hear because we're talking seasoned people that know how to pair up together. Dolly Parton did that with her rock and roll album. Look at all the people she had on there.
Oh my gosh,
Mm-hmm.
it was massive.
Sheryl Crow
Mm-hmm.
sent like Redemption Song with the Sheryl Crow and Johnny Cash is insanely good. I mean, it's people have to hear that, and
And
it's
of
just
course, I put on my list a really interesting one, I think, which is Huey Lewis and Gwyneth
Ooh.
Paltrow.
that
Oh,
is, yeah, isn't that from a
that
movie?
is.
I don't know if it's from a movie or not. He did an album of duets, and she just turned out that she could sing. Who knew?
Yeah, no, because it was a karaoke movie about a karaoke singer or
Oh,
something like that. I haven't seen the movie, but I remember her doing it and she can sing. You know who can also sing really well? Which is insane because she was married to Chris Robbins. Uh, what's her name? Goldie Hawn's daughter, Kate Hudson.
Oh
She's
right,
just
oh.
put out an album that is badass, bluesy, rock. She's got, she did some songs that are just like, wow, I would never want to tackle as a singer or some scary stuff. I heard her do a cover of, oh my gosh. Oh, I wish I could remember the name of the song, but it's like haunting. And if you don't have that, like people who don't, like I'm a very loud singer, bluesy loud-ish, but not out like Janis Joplin at some point, the dynamic thing is so huge. But Kate Hudson can sing quietly. She can do all of that, but she has really good control over her voice, like amazing control over her voice, where she can sing something that would feel really difficult for me to sing without it coming out a little louder, because of the way the notes are, the
yeah,
scale.
yeah.
I can't explain it, but she did this cover on Howard Stern show that I was like, no way. I would never want to do that because I would bomb. right there on the first boom, but yeah, it's kind of we should do a show on that. All these actors that sing, like Mandy Moore, you know.
Mandy Moore is
Um,
awesome.
oh, and Katie Siegel or Seagal, however you want to pronounce it. Um, doesn't the Seagal guy, the Seagal, doesn't he sing too? Please don't
Yeah.
tell me.
Well,
What?
interesting story. Interesting story.
Oh boy, Steven
Steven
Seagal.
Seagal was on the same distribution label as I was
No
back in
way.
2010, 2011,
God.
and there was talk of us going on tour together.
No
And
way.
he is. I can't say that I've heard his music, but he is apparently a blues musician. Again, I haven't heard it, but we were talking about doing it, and then it didn't happen because he's used to being kind of a movie star,
Mm.
and in the music space, you don't get a private airplane, and I mean through the Rolling Stones, yes, but at his level in the music space, he wasn't
Mm.
selling out arenas and stuff like that, and he
Mm.
kind of wanted to, and it was, and my understanding from what I was told, this is just what I was told, true or not, I can't verify, but my understanding was he decided not to tour because he was ended up wanting to travel in a certain kind of style and play certain kind of venues, and he was losing more money than he was making because the revenue from the music was not covering the expenses. So
He should have acted in a James Bond movie or
oh,
something.
absolutely. But anyway, that's my understanding. But we were on the same distribution label, and we were supposed to. There was
Mm.
talk of us doing a tour together, but it never panned out.
Mm.
That's wild,
Well,
Joey.
that's probably a good thing.
Yeah.
Probably.
Well, it's interesting. One duo that I have to bring up is the White Stripes, man. Come on. Come on. That's a killer duo. I mean, that
Actually,
whole thing,
he'll be at NAMM this year. He's receiving an award.
good.
So he'll be at NAMM this year.
I
Mm.
love Jack White.
Yeah,
I really do. I think, you know, well, he cares about the music, the musician, the writers, vinyl. And he's a creative person.
oh,
I mean,
big time.
even what he does with his upholstery and everything he does. I mean, even some of this stuff, like how he does these pop up, shows everywhere. Yeah. And I mean, come on, here he goes and gets his wife and they thought they were brother and sister and stuff. I mean, it's crazy how I mean, they made it on his creative genius, I believe, because he was just like, it's all or nothing. You know what I mean? There wasn't any in between. He's going to go for it and be exactly who he wants to be.
Yeah,
But I think he
Mhm.
studied a lot of music. Like he studies it and listens, to a lot of music and learns by
Mhm.
listening, from what I
yeah,
can tell. But that's cool. I hope you get to, if he's going to perform, that would be cool. So you
yeah.
can,
I don't think I'm going to be able to see it because I'm busy with meetings, and so it's taking place during the time that
well,
I'll be busy, so I'll miss it probably unless some
Oh.
with NAM and stuff like that, things change on a dime, because you have all these meetings and you have all these people and everybody's trying to get together, and so sometimes things fall through or sometimes things change or whatever at the last minute. So maybe, but I don't
Mm.
think so.
Mm.
you had another interesting song on here that people are all going to know. Talking about another actor singing, John Travolta and Olivia Newton-John.
Mm.
Absolutely. I mean, that's good stuff.
Yeah.
And
Uh,
Mm.
yeah. Now, Kylie Minogue and Rick Astley should have done a duet together.
oh, that would have been awesome.
Nancy's favorite people, right, Nancy? Well, she always said that Kylie Minogue was Rick Astley sped up. She always believed they were the same person.
That is a strange theory. That's
Well, that's
interesting.
Nancy. It's
Yeah,
Nancy. I
I'm
mean,
not.
come on now.
That's pretty funny.
That is. It is. But
Let me say this: have you ever seen them in the same room together?
Mm.
no, we've seen him in the same picture, but not,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay, so
No. Yeah.
maybe not, because if you never see her when you see him, maybe there's something to that.
Well, you know what? See, there could be this in my mind. I see already now as you're talking.
Oh boy.
one of them looks in the mirror and the image that they see is the other one.
Oh boy. See, everyone, this is how we do conspiracy theories in Big Blend. We don't do political conspiracies. We just go for the weird and the
Well, I could
wonderful.
do political if you want, but you probably don't want me to.
Well, we've got a theme here because we're talking about music and movies and duets, and a lot of movie soundtracks do have these duets. So you've got Lady Gaga and Bradley Cooper in Shallow, and he turned out, I mean, she's got a phenomenal voice. She really does.
She's just crazy good.
Yeah. But Bradley Cooper's a big music person.
Yeah.
He did good.
He did
Lucas
great.
Nelson helped train them all and helped write the song Shallow. Yeah. And yeah, he did a lot of work on that. And, you know, Bradley Cooper, though, is a big music buff, like major, like when he did Maestro, we heard an interview with him about like how into actual conductors and classical music and everything. He's like a mad genius about it. Like, yeah. I'm sad he didn't win, you know, an Oscar for that, but
should have,
you know, so
that was really well done.
Yeah.
It's, and he really, I mean, he cares. That's what I love is when you get these, you know, people that really care about the actual craft of the music. But you've got Lady Gaga and Bruno Mars.
Yeah.
Now, what about not Lady Gaga, Bruno Mars and Mark Ronson? Would
that would be a duo.
Yes, Uptown Funk You Up.
Yeah.
Isn't that Mark Ronson?
I think so.
Yeah, I think so. We're terrible about the newer stuff. We are, Nancy and I are we're like, we are, but you're doing good on this.
This is all making me want to go back and walk the streets of, Sunset Strip.
You need to watch
at 9 to 10 at night.
Yeah, I mean, I've been on the Strip because Whiskey A Go Go's Strip adjacent, and it's. Yeah, we did that. We played the first show of 2020 in January. I think it was January. I can't remember if it was January 2nd, 3rd, or 4th, but one of those dates. Seems like it was the 3rd. It was a Friday, and we played to a packed house, and the Strip, was nearby, and it was something to see. It was a lot of fun. And then we went at the Rainbow Room. And got to hang out there with a friend of mine who is the drummer for Judas Priest, and so we got a good table. He got us a good table. Joey did not get us a good table. He got us a good table. But we had a lot of fun, and it was that whole area is so cool.
It's just so interesting.
It really is.
Yeah,
I'm sure it was more
Halloween
interesting when you were
every
there,
night.
Yeah.
Well, in Venice Beach is interesting.
I'm hoping I'm hoping that area has been mostly unaffected because Jen and I want to go walk Venice Beach. We try to go do that every time we're there. So hoping that we'll be able to do that.
You got to go and they have the drum circle.
I've seen a lot of people like doing pop-up concerts and pop-up art and all kind of stuff. But there's some good little restaurants right there, and the beach is gorgeous.
Johnny Mastro and the Mama's Boys, that's how we met them. It was in Venice Beach. We heard him play his harmonica, and it's like a mating call. Yeah. And it is. You just hear this sound, and we all know it's time.
Gotta go see.
And it's like everybody's like little ducks going to water, man. We all just start going, Yeah, that is so true because there's like a certain sound that he has. And it's like his blues are like dirty rock. They're dirty.
No, it's because he's all in.
He's all in. And
he's all in.
It's like Muddy Waters.
He doesn't hold back.
Muddy Waters and Led Zeppelin had a band,
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah, it's very good. But I mean, his harp just does this. I don't know, man. It's the siren.
and he's got this heavy breathing that goes with it.
Oof, oof, everybody wants a little heavy breathing.
So you're just like, it's incredible.
Well, okay, so since we're talking about duets, this is a thing too. Like in the 80s, we had a lot of good duets, and you've got
Oh
some
yeah.
of them on your list, like Lionel Richie, Diana Ross together, Kenny Rogers and Dolly Parton. They get up on stage, like they'll do it at the Grammys and stuff, right? Some duet will happen. And then they start singing into each other's faces. How
I know.
on earth people can sing that close to each other with and like look at each
And
other's
not
eyes
laugh.
like Barbara Streisand's done stuff like that, and I think she sang with Chris Christopherson some of that. Um,
I did not. I'm not being blind. I mean, I had no idea that's how people did it, so I didn't know that.
no, they look at each other and do the big lovey
No,
dovey
I
thing. If it's a
can't.
love song, I would wet my pants giggling. There's
No, we would
no
laugh.
way I could not do that. I mean, and then what if
Mm-mm.
the person has bad breath or something, and you're
Well,
like,
hopefully they brushed their teeth beforehand.
well,
But but there's something about
it's so nice.
personal space, you know,
Yeah.
But on the
and
performing thing, people get close up on the mic,
yeah.
And I mean, I've shared a lot of mics and stuff, but like, there's just sometimes I just look at it and go, dude, no, we don't want
Mm-mm.
that. We don't.
No.
We're just so polite, Joey.
Well, nowadays, I actually have a box of these in my toolbox that I carry with me on the road, and they're little mic covers. They're disposable. You just slip them on, and so
Mm.
if you're at a gig somewhere, you don't want to get the mic funk and the germs. You just slip that sucker on there. So
No way.
yeah. So
Cool.
it's
It's a
pretty.
little condom.
Yeah, it is. It's a mic condom. That's what it is. That's what I call them.
Don't even, because I'm just looking at the shape of it all too. That's funny. Well,
I
nowadays,
see it
what's
already in
also,
my mind.
when people are doing the headset kind of thing, like the way monitors, like how you put the things in your ear to hear the monitors and all
Yeah,
of
we
that.
don't do that in my band.
I hate that stuff.
We don't
It's
do
just
in
not.
ears for a one really good paranoid reason, and that is that it only takes one mistake, somebody hitting a
Mm-mm.
button and
Ow.
blowing your eardrum by doing something
Oh,
stupid.
dude.
And so we have floor wedges. We still use floor wedges, and we have personal monitor
You
mixers.
have wedges.
Yeah, we
Okay.
have not
Wedges
wedgies,
and
Got
mic
wedgies.
condoms. This
not
is
They got the
great.
wedgies,
wedgies.
but wedges. So we have the old floor monitors, and we all wear earplugs.
That's
So
awesome.
we protect our hearing with custom made, or at least I do, with custom made
Here's
molded earplugs. But
here's
we
a new
don't do
album.
it.
Here's a new album, Wedgies and Earplugs.
Wedgies, plugs, and condoms.
Oh my god!
Yeah. Well, this is really great. Okay. Well,
You
but
know
it's
that the word
interesting. You
condom,
know,
if you think about it, condominiums comes
well,
from
why, when
condoms.
I was a kid, we called them FLs for French letters. Why the heck? Why is it, was
Oh,
someone
that's
writing a letter on
European.
them? I
That's
mean,
European.
the
That's
French
because
letter.
you were
Oh, honey,
raised.
go to the pharmacy, which what do we call the chemist, and go buy some French letters.
Huh.
Yeah, that's because she was raised on the other side of the world.
French letters. Yeah. I mean,
I've never heard that one.
yeah,
Yeah,
so everybody would call them FLs or Effies. And
Huh.
apparently you can't be saying the Effies around here.
funny.
So,
Oh my gosh.
well, this has really deteriorated, hasn't it? Well, but nowadays, like how they sing and stuff, like they have like the mouthpiece thing. And I don't know. I like the good old fashioned microphone, you
Well,
know?
there's
I do
something.
too.
There's something about France, like French kissing, French letters, French this,
She's
French
not
that.
pulling out. She's not pulling out. Oh,
No,
well, then you don't need a
she's stuck
French
in the
letter.
past there.
Sorry.
Oh my god!
You put me in a mode.
All right. I'm getting us back on track.
Okay, sorry.
We're getting back on track.
Okay.
Let's talk about Elton John and Kiki. D,
Mm,
don't go breaking my heart. Yeah.
It's a good one.
Well,
yeah.
Elton John, Nancy and I just heard a podcast with, Shaka Khan, not Shaka Khan. Oh my gosh. Oh my God. Patti
Okay.
LaBelle. Excuse me.
Mm,
No, because once I hear Shaka Khan, it doesn't stop in my head. And I love
no.
her though. But what about Prince and Sheena E? Come on. That's a good duo,
Oh,
right?
very good duo.
I gotta bring that up for sure. Them up. But Patti LaBelle, who's incredible, right?
Mm.
Oh yeah.
well, we were listening to a podcast. She used to, before Elton John became Elton John, talking about people before they become famous, they were buddies. And he had a band and they would do some shows together. And she used to cook for his band because they didn't have much money and send them off with Tupperware of food afterwards. They'd sit and she would cook. The band would be there and everything. And
Huh.
they'd go home with their leftovers. And then one day, apparently, he gave her a ring. And he's now got the money and everything. It's a very fancy ring and expensive, kind of diamonds, like the real ones and all that. And he said, this is for the Tupperware because he never gave her Tupperware. But apparently she's a massive chef.
Yeah, I knew
She
that.
loves
Actually.
cooking and she
Yeah.
takes her pots and pans and Tupperware everywhere she goes on tour. And she cooked for Nina Simone because they became friends on tour when they played at Carnegie Hall. And so Nina Simone, she served her hot sausage.
Huh.
So there you go. Yeah.
I knew she
Wow.
was a cook. I didn't know that she and Elton John were friends.
Yeah. Way back, right? So that's amazing.
That is very cool.
Yeah, I think so. I think, it's just there's so many musicians and people are friends that we don't know what's going on, but you've got to think what it's like to have like a jam session with them,
Well,
you know.
the great thing about art is, the best way to get out of a rut, if you're creatively not producing things that inspire you, is to go and collaborate with somebody. So it's really
Mm.
nice to have these duets and duos and moments where you can get together and collaborate with somebody else, and maybe somebody else that's in a completely different style than you are. That's even more fun.
Well,
Uh,
you had George Michael and Aretha Franklin,
yeah,
completely different.
yeah, and, and
Mhm.
and boy, they sound great together, though. Oh my gosh,
Well, remember when VH1 did the Crossroads thing?
yeah, that was great.
And that was amazing because you would take rock people with country and
Yeah,
was
Dolly
it?
Parton and Melissa Etheridge was one of the best ones on there.
Yeah.
Yes. I used to watch it
Mm.
because it was interesting because the musicians and singers would go in with these open minds, which is what I really want everyone to do for music and the arts in general,
Yes,
is go in with an open mind. Oh, I only like this kind of thing, right? I used to be like that about country music until one of my good friends sat me down at a party, but he made me actually lie down because we were playing vinyl and he had a really good sound system and he wanted me to feel it. And I'm like that in singing too. I don't like to wear shoes. I want to feel. I want to be as close to earth as I can. And you feel that vibration come through. And that's how, friends that I know that are deaf can do music, it's vibrations. And that's what music is. And he got me to sit and he played the old school because I was hearing stuff going that just sounds like pop stuff to me. And it just wasn't resonating with me when I got to this country. And he sat me down and he made me listen to all the greats. He's like, you're going to listen to this whole album. You're not just going to listen to one or two songs. You're going to listen to it. You're going to close your eyes and you're going to lie there while everybody's having a party around me and you're going to listen. And he changed my mind. And
Hmm.
yeah, I had a good time and I didn't know who, what and where, but, speaking of that, because I always used to make him play Taj Mahal, Ry Cooder and Taj Mahal were a great
Mm.
duo,
yeah,
you know?
absolutely,
Well,
absolutely.
they just reunited not too long ago. I think it was for an awards, the American Roots Awards or something.
Hmm.
But yeah, Ry Cooder's to me one of the most important people on the planet, truly. Well, this has been fun, y'all. Thank you. We still say y'all because we're in the South. I mean, as soon
Absolutely,
as
as you should.
as soon as
Mhm.
people are looking at me like, what are you doing? I'm like, I don't know. It's stuck in me. It's Arlene's fault from our friend from Natchitoches. Everything was y'all and now, and I'm starting to call people Miss that or, Shelly wasn't our friend. He's on the podcast too. I started calling her Miss Shelly and I'm like, where's this coming from? Why is everyone a Miss? You know, you're not supposed to do it to everyone, are you?
You can if you want to.
Okay, well, apparently I've been doing it. So, Miss Nancy, are you ready? Because I even called Nancy. Miss Nancy's
It
here. Like,
doesn't
where is this
insult me
coming
at
from?
all.
Yeah,
No, it's
absolutely, yeah.
better than ma'am. Oh my God, the ma'am thing.
Ma'am is not, I don't like
No,
ma'am. I'd rather have miss than
no.
ma'am.
I want to be the miss. I don't want to be a ma'am. Mm-mm.
No,
Yeah.
Unless I'm
I don't like
madam.
the
No, that's
ma'am.
fine. Madam is
Madam,
okay.
that's a whole different situation.
Yeah, but that's funny. Now we're getting into album cover songs.
Yeah, but it's like, yes, madam, no, madam.
No, I don't like
Yeah.
that either. No, I'm talking about the
Find
other
your own
madams.
way home, madam. It's subservient. You know what
Listen,
I mean?
the madams never find
So,
their own way home. They have their own car. They have their own pitmobiles and drivers. Okay.
Absolutely.
Cadillacs, the whole thing. So let's just go. Come on. So, all right. Well, thank you so much, Joey. Have safe travels.
Absolutely.
Everyone,
Thank you.
again, there's so much that music cares. There's a World Kitchen, Jose Andres, the chef out there, Red Cross, all of these organizations, and also for even Helen Woodward Animal Center in San Diego. Mm-hmm. They actually had to stop the donations because they are so full with pets. There are, I know even, oh my gosh, Matt Damon, he has a nature called Relief, like Relief, RELIEF, but it's for reforesting and everything. He's already doing stuff. So there's sides of things where we help the humans, the animals, and the actual nature that burned down.
Right.
So there's so many organizations, obviously, Red Cross, but people really need help now. A lot of people. And it's also sad for the celebrities who lost their homes. And how things got political is so sad because Nancy and I have been through fires. We've been there. We have done it.
Floods.
We've been on the other end of hurricanes, all of this stuff. And it's really brutal. And when, the winds are picking up, or do you see this over there, and all of that, we went through a year and a half of brutal evacuations and loss, and friends lost, I had to go do photos for friends' insurance claims, and it sucked. And so politics shouldn't have anything to do with everybody arguing about it. What should be happening is we focus on helping and being the good community that us as a country is known to have done in the past. So I think there's a lot going on. There's a lot of positivity. And so whatever we can all do to propel that forward would be fantastic. But it's not all over. After these disasters, the really hard work for 2 to 3 to 4, sometimes 10 years, something this massive, don't let it get, don't forget about it. We just did a show with Sharon Kurtz, a travel writer who's been going to Maui for years, went there again, and she did a story, and she's like, there's only one house built since the Lahaina fires. Only one. And, there's all these huge funds that get divvied out, which is great. People do get their help. But there's always someone who didn't get it. And so sometimes just go help an actual independent business, because that person's going to put it back into their community with what they do with that money. So sometimes that's the best way you can do. Like if you can go see live music that is supporting musicians from LA, please do it. Same thing as what's happened in the East. Hurricane Helene's devastation is not over. Hurricane Milton is not over. All of those things need to be rebuilt, and people are still not home. So whatever we can do in a positive manner, sometimes it is just, hey, buying someone's meal in the diner, simple things. So there's a lot of great organizations out there, like the Music Cares that Joey's talking about. I know the Grammys themselves have some really great, nonprofit work that they do. So whatever we can all do, let's do it, and hopefully keep it positive, right?
Absolutely.
So Joey, please, hug people for us while you're there.
I will.
You know what I mean? Spread that joy, that Joey joy that Joey has. The Joey joy. Got to be careful how we say that. But anyway.
That sounds like a good drink.
I was thinking the same thing.
Joey's Joy Juice.
Yeah.
Well, go spread it around, okay? Because I think everyone needs it. So, and I think the fact that the Grammys are happening and the NAMM show is, I think that helps things to move forward, right? Such a good thing.
I think so.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, thank you, Joy. Be safe.
I will.
And we'll talk next month.
We'll do it.
Thanks.
Awesome.
Everyone, joeystuckey.com.
Hi.
Thank you for listening to Big Blend Radio. Keep up with our shows at bigblendradio.com.